Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Fesmer. I'm proud to be the principal at New Berlin West, and thank you to the New Berlin Hepner Horn Brothers VFW Post 5716 for opening our program. At this time, please allow me to introduce you to a student from each of our elementary schools and a 7th grade student from each middle high school student who will be saying the pledge. And if the students could come on stage as they're being announced, please. Kylie Holter from Elmwood Elementary. Parents are Justin and Stephanie. Bryce and Kyla Richards from Orchard Lane Elementary. Parents Vernon and Tiffany. Adalyn and John Lamb, Poplar Creek Elementary. Parents Rich. Charlotte Eulenberg, Ronald Reagan Elementary. Parent is Chad. And for all the elementary school students, the parents that I identified are all members of the military, current or former. And from Eisenhower Middle High School, Aiden Cesarez. And from New Berlin West Middle High School, Lauren Palmatier. If you could come forward and say the pledge, please. And thank you to everyone who opened the presentation today. At this time, we can be seated. I always said as a 7th grader or a 6th grader, it would be very difficult for me to be able to speak in front of a group of people. So I know how challenging that can be, and thank you, everyone, for doing that. As we start today, I just want to let the people in the audience know that we are live streaming this to our elementary schools. We're live streaming this to all of our middle schools and out to our community. So this is going to have a pretty far reach as we continue, and we're excited to be here to be able to celebrate. Good morning again. My name is Michael Fesmer, and as I said, I'm proud to be the principal at New Berlin West. On this day, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to be part of the program to recognize veterans who have helped to preserve the freedoms we enjoy in the United States of America. This morning, we have the opportunity to engage with and participate in a program that is intended as an educational tribute, providing an opportunity to honor veterans while our students learn more about the day and the impact so many have had on our freedoms as a country. We hope that people enjoy the history, the music, the purpose, and the celebration of our program today. Today there is, and perhaps always will be, conflict in the world. Here at home in the United States, we fortunately enjoy peace and freedom. Like other things of great value, the security did not come without a dear cost. Part of the cost has been paid by Americans who answered the call to military duty when their country needed them. They served in 11 wars from the Revolution to the global war on terrorism, earning the special distinction, veteran. Another part of freedom's cost must continue to be paid long after the guns have been silenced. A debt is owed to America's veterans. Some need their country's help, even as their country once needed theirs, to readjust, to recover from wounds, or to overcome the hardships of age and infirmity. Most need and ask nothing in repayment for their sacrifices. Let us continue to help those veterans in need with the greatest possible compassion and efficiency. To the rest, since they ask no special help, we can best pay tribute this day by recognizing what they have achieved and joining them in their resolve to keep America strong and free. We are proud of all of our veterans, and although we may never be able to repay them for what they've done, we give you all our deepest thanks. Thank you all for your attendance at this program today to honor our veterans and learn more about their service and commitment to our freedom. Thank you for the respect you have for the people who have dedicated themselves to preserving this freedom for our country, and thank you for doing your part to support the freedoms that we enjoy. At this time, please be seated to enjoy the presentation of When Johnny Comes Marching Home by our New Berlin West Orchestra. under the direction of Stephanie Keller, combined with the New Berlin West Band, under the direction of Kyle Fletcher. And thank you again to our band and orchestra for their performance. At this time, I would like to introduce our superintendent, Mr. Joe Garza. He will be introducing our mayor, and Mr. Garza is a longtime supporter of this program, actually a prominent person about why this program is in place in our schools. So we really appreciate him and his support, and he's here to introduce our mayor. Mr. Garza.
Thank you. On behalf of the school board, and specifically, we have School Board President Janet Schulz here, as well as Vice President Mitchell Helmer. On behalf of the school board, them, our administration, our staff, and certainly our students, we want to welcome all of our veterans and their families to this great event today. At this time, I would like to introduce the mayor of the city of New Berlin, Dave Ament, to come up and present his proclamation to the veterans of our area.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to start out by thanking Superintendent Joe Garza, New Berlin West High School Principal Michael Fessenmeyer, and New Berlin School Board and staff for inviting me to join you in honoring our military veterans today. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the armistice was signed to end the terrible conflict that was known at the time as the First World War. At that time, it was known as Armistice Day. Since 1954, Armistice Day has been known as Veterans Day, in honor of all men and women who have so bravely served and defended the freedoms and liberties we enjoy in this great country, and far too often take for granted. We thank them and their families for their sacrifices and upholding the common values which this nation stands for. We honor those who served, to give thanks to all the men and women who put on the uniform of our armed forces, to honor those who come home battered and broken, and to pay homage to those who never came home at all. So let us remember their service, honor their sacrifice, and pay our respect to all who have served. On behalf of the Common Council and the citizens of New Berlin, I would like to read this official proclamation in honor of our veterans. And it reads, whereas we join together on this Veterans Day to honor the men and women who selflessly serve, protect, and defend our country. And whereas we take this day to commemorate and celebrate the brave, loyal, and selfless American soldiers and their families for giving us the opportunity to live freely in this, our great country. And whereas our citizens consider military service to be the ultimate patriotic duty, whether said service be an active duty or ready reserve capacity. And whereas in the year of our Lord, 2021, we are particularly heartbroken and pause in silence to reflect on the sacrifice made by our veterans and their families at the Kabul airport in Afghanistan. Whereas we wish to further express our deep gratitude for all the past and current sacrifices of our veterans, as well as the continued work of the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign War, and the VFW Auxiliary. And whereas Ronald Reagan once said, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It was fought for, protected, and handed on to them to do the same. Now, therefore, I do hereby urge all citizens, particularly our students, here today to respect the blessing of those hard-fought freedoms and to join me on this Veterans Day in extending our heartfelt appreciation to our servicemen and women for their willingness to serve and sacrifice for those freedoms. May our students here today grow into adults worthy of their sacrifice, with the willingness to carry on their strong sense of duty, and witness whereof I do hereby set my hand and cause the corporate seal of the City of New Berlin to be fixed this 11th day of November 2021, and it's signed by myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And at this time, I would like to welcome the New Berlin West Chamber Singers under the direction of Ms. Sarah Lemon, as they will sing the Star-Spangled Banner.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And thank you to Miss Lemon and members of the choir for that performance. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Ryan Bartley. He is a high school student at New Berlin West, and he will share with us the history and significance of Veterans Day. And Ryan is with the band too, so he may not be in here right now. I'm going to shift because I know this person is here. Our second speaker for sure is here. At this time, I would like to have Sydney Garza come to the stage, and she is going to present what Veterans Day means to her.
Courage, sacrifice, gratitude, and pride. These are the words that come to mind when I think about the brave men and women who have served our country. In order to properly honor our veterans, I believe that it is critically important for us to understand the essence of what our country was founded on. It is within the United States Constitution itself that we find the first 10 amendments, known as the Bill of Rights. These guarantee us our rights and our civil liberties, such as free speech, religion, and the right to bear arms. Liberties like these are often taken for granted every day. We don't stop to think about everything we're allowed to do. Our nation's foundational principles are what our veterans served to protect. We must understand that these rights should not be taken lightly, nor should they be taken for granted. To start our program today, we heard elementary school students from Elmwood, Orchard Lane, Poplar Creek, and Ronald Reagan lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. While we students may be complacent as we recite the pledge every day at school, I challenge us to pause at some point and appreciate the true meaning of the pledge itself. Veterans have provided their highest allegiance to our flag and to the United States of America by having the courage to enlist and serve in the armed forces. It is because of this courage that we are able to sleep easy at night, knowing that our country will be defended. Most of us will never truly comprehend or empathize with the immense sacrifices that each veteran has made, and I know for certain that there were many. The missed birthday parties, holiday celebrations, precious time with loved ones, and a life stalled in order to serve the greater good. Our heroes sacrificed their future by putting school, work, and the life goals that they had on hold. They sacrificed the stability of having a warm meal, a comfortable place to lay their head, and the uncertainty that came with each and every waking moment. Some even sacrificed their long-term mental well-being by witnessing the unimaginable horrors in combat that no person should ever see. Others, unfortunately, gave the ultimate sacrifice by losing their life while in training or in battle. I'm sure that veteran and current State Senator Dale Kuyanga, who is the final speaker in today's program, will share with us other examples of the sacrifices that he and others had to endure. Please listen carefully and put yourself in his and their shoes to get a better appreciation for the level of sacrifice it takes to defend our freedoms. We are indebted to our veterans. Our gratitude must also extend to their family members, spouses, children, and loved ones. We must feel a sense of gratitude every day for our veterans, not just on November 11th. Utilizing the liberties our veterans fought for every day is one way to show our thanks. Going to school, practicing your faith, and being able to voice your opinion no matter the topic. Our heroes want to see us thrive and succeed as a country with the abilities that they have protected. Simply acknowledging our veterans when we see them with hello or even a smile may seem like a small gesture, but it can be greatly appreciated. We are all enormously proud of what our veterans have stood for and what they have done on our behalf. Even though our nation may feel divided at times, it is essential to reflect on days like today for all the reasons why we must stand united. Take pride in knowing our fellow veterans that have served, who may be respective family members, neighbors, the men and women you see at Starbucks or at the mall, wearing a proud veteran hat or shirt. And for those of us at Eisenhower and West high schools that have former classmates and friends that have recently enlisted. While we can stand for the flag or celebrate our freedoms, our veterans will forever be seen as the ultimate patriot. To our veterans here with us today, on behalf of the students in the School District of New Berlin, we recognize and honor you for your courage and sacrifice. We are sincerely grateful to share the pride you have for our country, and we will continue to live our lives through your example. Thank you.
Thank you, Sydney, for sharing those thoughts with us today. And now we have Ryan Bartley, student at New Berlin West, who's going to talk with us today about what is Veterans Day. We're going to make one more little shift. Ryan will be back very shortly. And at this time, before Ryan speaks, I'm going to ask that you please join me in welcoming the New Berlin West Chamber Singers one more time, led by Miss Sarah Lemon, as they sing a song for us called The Song for the Unsung Hero.
kind of tears, finding in their love of freedom power stronger than their fears. Sing a song for unsung heroes, sing from sea to shining sea. As the faithful sang before you, sing the song of liberty. Let us sing for unsung heroes, those who answer freedom's call, those united by one purpose, all for one and one for all. We will sing and not be silenced, we will keep our voices strong, for as long as we keep singing, freedom's cry will still live on. Sing a song for unsung heroes, sing from sea to shining sea. As the faithful sang before you, sing the song of liberty. Sing the song of liberty. My country's days of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the dear, from every mountainside, let freedom reign. Let us sing the song of freedom, sing the song of liberty.
Thank you.
And once again, thank you to our chamber singers and Miss Lemon for that performance. And third time is a charm. At this time, I will reintroduce Ryan Bartley, a student at New Berlin West, to give his presentation. Thank you.
All right.
To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing which it has freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with justice and peace in the Council of Nations. These were the words of President Woodrow Wilson 102 years ago on the first armistice, or Veterans Day. Today, it's a day that honors and celebrates all the heroic men and women who spend their lives protecting this great nation of ours. However, that's not how this important day originally began. Veterans Day has itself a long and storied history. On June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed, ending what is known today as the First World War. In reality, the fighting had stopped almost a year prior when the Allied nations and Germany agreed to a mutual ceasefire, or armistice, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, which was November 11th, 1918, setting the historic date of November 11th in stone for the rest of time. But Veterans Day as we know it wouldn't come into effect for another 3 decades. You see, Armistice Day, in its original form, began as a holiday only for veterans of the First World War. That all changed thanks to a man by the name of Raymond Weeks, who wanted to expand the holiday to include all veterans, not just ones of the Great War, or World War I as we commonly know it. Mr. Weeks, a World War II veteran, organized National Veterans Day in Birmingham, Alabama in 1947, which included a parade and other celebratory festivities to honor all veterans. The event was held on November 11th, still designated Armistice Day. Later, Weeks led a delegation to Washington, D.C. to persuade the Army Chief of Staff to create a national holiday that honored all veterans. By 1954, that general had become President Dwight D. Eisenhower and signed the legislation designating November 11th as Veterans Day. It is my earnest hope that all veterans, their organizations, and the entire citizenry, Eisenhower said in 1954, will join hands to ensure proper and widespread observance of this day. In 1982, President Ronald Reagan awarded Raymond Weeks the Presidential Citizenship Medal, commending his efforts and recognizing him as the father of Veterans Day. After leading the first Veterans Day parade in 1947 in Birmingham, Alabama, Mr. Weeks continued the tradition he began until his passing in 1985. The Birmingham-based National Veterans Day organization still exists to this day. Today, Veterans Day celebrates those who have served in every branch of the United States Armed Forces: the Army, the Marine Corps, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, as well as the National Guard and the Reserves. In our country, there are 19 million veterans who have served in at least one war. 11% of U.S. veterans are women. It is estimated that there are only 240,000 World War II veterans alive today. While Memorial Day is a time to remember those who gave their lives for our country, Veterans Day honors all who have served our country in times of war and peace. It is intended to thank living veterans for their service and their sacrifices. We are grateful to those who have served on our behalf, particularly those in attendance today, for their sacrifices, their courage, and their selflessness. Thank you.
And that really is the focus of our program today. When you hear Sydney talk and you hear Ryan talk, it's really about learning more about this day and learning more about it, what that means. So thank you both for your presentation. And at this time in our program, we have representatives from each branch of the military will share a brief description of their work in our world. We're hopeful that this provides more information for our students and their understanding of the importance, not only of this day, yet also of the work that these people do each day for our country. So I will introduce each of them as they share information about their branch and purpose. The first one is our representative from the Air Force, Technical Sergeant Glendon Conti.
Thank you. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Sergeant Conte from the Air Force, and just want to share our mission statement today, which is to fly, fight, and win, air power, anytime, anywhere. And what that means is we are able to be number one in whether that's space, airspace, or cyberspace. So, thank you.
And our next person is from the Army, Sergeant First Class Timothy Gibbons.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant First Class Gibbons of the United States Army. And when people ask me what does the Army contribute to the nation's defense, I say land power. Land power is the ability by threat, force, or occupation to gain, sustain, and exploit control over land, resources, and people. Our Army provides the United States with campaign qualifying force able to secure, seize, and occupy terrain, sustain itself, and enable our unified action partners to interact with, secure, or control populations when necessary. The Army conducts large-scale ground combat operations on land to achieve strategic operations and impose our will on its enemies. No other force has this capability. In closing, I want to thank all veterans that served and defended our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next representative is a representative from the Coast Guard, Petty Officer Gordon Kelly, retired.
The United States Coast Guard is the oldest continuing branch of the military, having been formed in 1790 as the Revenue Cutter Service. Its original duties were the collection of taxes and the elimination of piracy. The Coast Guard has served in every war, in every theater of war, from the War of 1812, through the World Wars, through Korea, Vietnam, and the Gulf Wars. Today, I've been limited by a few minutes to try to explain the Coast Guard and its multi-missions. There's not enough time, but I will mention 3 particular missions which are relevant to you people here and your families. We are part of the Department of Homeland Security at the present time, and we are a law enforcement officer. We also enforce maritime law, which involves all of the safety things that belong on your small boats and large ships. We are part of the war on terrorism. We're also, by guarding our ports and keeping an eye on everything that comes into all of our ports. And that means Atlantic, Pacific, Gulf, and the ports along the Mississippi River and the Great Lakes. The same is done with the aids to navigation. We take care of the buoy systems in all those areas, lighthouses, weather stations. We also do the ice breaking in the Antarctic for other military services that have bases there, in the Arctic and on the Great Lakes. We also stop the infiltration of illegal immigrants by sea, and we are also supposed to stop the infiltration of drugs by sea, also by air and other methods to get it into this country. And over the last few years, the Coast Guard has confiscated over 100 million tons, that's 100 million tons of cocaine and marijuana. We are a life-saving service. This is probably our most important mission to you and your families. And this service alone, during the last hurricane which tore New Orleans apart, rescued 33,500 people in that incident alone. And the numbers have grown since then, and were growing before that time. And when one goes into the Coast Guard, whether it's an officer to the academy, or whether it is an enlisted man to the boot camp now at Cape May, New Jersey, we are instilled from the day we walk in the door until the day that we leave that our purpose for you and for you and for you and for every one of your families is simply, and can be wound up in this statement: we have to go out. We do not have to come back in. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next representative is from the Marines, Sergeant Terry Doris.
Good morning. My name is Staff Sergeant Terry Doris with the United States Marine Corps. First off, I would like to thank all of the veterans for their service and sacrifice, and also New Berlin for putting this on. The Marine Corps was founded November 10th, 1775, as a security force for Navy ships and crew. Today, the Marine Corps' primary role is that of amphibious fighting force. However, with the use of the Marine Air Ground Task Force, we have the capability to conduct operations in the air, land, and sea anywhere in the world in under 72 hours, a capability that is unmatched by any foreign threat. I would like to leave you with a short quote by a chaplain who served in the Korean War, Chaplain Kevin Caney, who said, "You cannot exaggerate about the Marines. They are convinced to the point of arrogance that they are the most ferocious fighters on earth. The amusing thing about it is, they are."
Thank you. And the final branch of the military being represented today is the Navy and Petty Officer Michael McCormick.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm Petty Officer McCormack with the United States Navy. The United States Navy, or the United States, is a maritime nation, and the U.S. Navy protects America at sea. Alongside our allies and partners, we defend freedom, preserve economic prosperity, and keep the seas open and free. Our nation is engaged in long-term competition to remain the strongest and most advanced Navy in the world. To defend America's interests around the globe, the U.S. Navy must remain prepared to execute our timeless role at all times. Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for all of our representatives of all the different branches of the military. I don't know if you felt it, but I felt a little competition there. And it's one of those things that carries that pride factor with what you belong to and what you believe in. And so you could feel it not only for our country, but you could also feel it a little bit within our country in that conversation. At this time, it is my honor to be able to introduce our special guest speaker. Mr. Koyenga is a certified public accountant who received his bachelor's from Lakeland College and his MBA from Marquette University. In 2005, Mr. Koyenga enlisted into the United States Army alongside his two brothers and was later called up to service in Iraq. He was awarded a Bronze Star for his service. He remains a member of the United States Army Reserve, where he serves as a major. Mr. Koyenga served in the State Assembly from 2011 through 2019. In 2018, he ran for the State Senate and was elected to represent the 5th State Senate District. Mr. Koyenga lives in Brookfield with his wife Jennifer and their 4 children, and we're just appreciative that he's able to be here with us today, so please join me in welcoming Senator Dale Koyenga to the podium.
Good morning. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. I get great joy out of being with my fellow veterans, and New Berlin is such a patriotic community. It's just a blast to always be here, especially when it's in this context talking about veterans. So I have a new regret. I don't have many regrets in my life, but after that brief introduction, one of my regrets is I can't serve in every single force. Because after I heard every description, I'm like, I want to do that. I want to do that. But luckily in today's military, it's a joint environment, so we do get to work with each other a lot in a lot of different environments, and had the honor to do that. I got the call from Joe, very short notice to do this, because the other speaker couldn't do that, and I was elated. And it's in the responsibilities of as a reservist to always be at the ready. So I was at the ready, and thank you very much for asking me to do this. It's truly an honor. And the reason I was a little late, I feel like I need to explain myself because I have a bunch of NCOs behind me. And so when I walk in late, I feel like I hear in my head, sir, that's going to be a couple push-ups. I hear it. So, gentlemen, I was at another speech at Wisconsin Lutheran. And what's cool about what I just saw there is they have 60 international students at Wisconsin Lutheran. They have a lot of, it's part of their program is to take these international students in. And the principal of the school actually pointed out, he said, see that area over there? Those are 60 international students, and they were wearing the mask there, and they all had the flag on their mask. They were all standing up for the Star-Spangled Banner, which is just a reminder to me that really around the world, the nations don't celebrate veterans like we do here in America. This is really, I mean, it's not they don't disrespect them, but it's just kind of, they don't do what we do here. But what's really cool is to see other nations' teenagers here respecting our veterans for recognizing from their places in the world the impact our country and our veterans have had. And that just struck me an hour ago as far as, wow, it never passes me up what an impact our veterans have. When I was in high school, I never ever thought I'd join the military. I moved to Milwaukee in 2001, 9/1/2001 to be exact, getting settled in my new apartment, ready to start my new job. and woke up the morning of 9/11 and watching America be attacked. I remember saying to my roommates when they woke up, America's under attack. When that came out of my mouth, the sound of that just sounded almost overly dramatic, but it wasn't. We're under attack. Like any good person on that day, you call your mom, you talk to your mom, and my mom was very upset. And my mother said, all 3 of my boys are going to go off to war. And I thought my mom was jumping the gun. I thought she was being a little emotional. And I said to her, well, Daniel's in high school. They don't pull kids out of high school to go fight wars. Russell's in college, and even in those big wars, they don't pull guys out of college to go fight. And I'm a CPA, and it's a losing proposition to send a bunch of CPAs off to war. So I think I'm in pretty good shape here. I think we're going to be fine, Mom. But my youngest brother actually remembered. He said, you remember we always said when we were boys, if there's ever a war, we're in this together? And I don't know if it was after Saving Private Ryan or Legends of the Fall, but one of those movies where the whole family goes off together. But somewhere along the way, we made that promise. He said, I'm going to get the high school waiver. He was 17. I'm going to join. And thought about that for a long time. And then my other brother was in college. And he said, hey, when I graduate, I'm going to join the Special Forces program with the U.S. Army. I remember working with a girl at the time, and I said, oh, she's like, what do you really want to do? You want to become a CFO? Do you want to become a partner at the firm? And I said, to be honest with you, what I think about all the time, I can't stop thinking about, is this promise I made to my brothers, and both my brothers are joining the military. My one brother's in Iraq already. I can't stop thinking it. And she looked at me and said, well, that's a great way to go through your life, is really want to do something and never doing it. So I drove to the recruiter and I signed up. And all 3 of us boys were then signed up for the U.S. Army. I remember my parents came up and they said, we get the patriotism, we get the promise, like, what else is there? And I remember there was a big, thick book on my coffee table. I think it was Fountainhead or Atlas Shrugged. And I remember picking up that book and I said, well, Mom and Dad, to a certain extent, your life is a book. And to a certain extent, you get to write chapters of that book. Some of it's handed to you, some of it you get to write. And someday when I'm an old man, I want my kids and grandkids to take that book and throw that book on the table and say, that was a good book. And as veterans, we really appreciate your respect, your honor. But let me just tell you, the honor's all ours as well. Because if you served, you have some really good chapters in that book. By the way, that girl who said, why don't you just do what you always want to do, I actually asked her on a date subsequently. She said no. I told her one of the reasons I joined the military was in part of her, that comment. And so her friends were like, well, at least you could do is give the guy a date. And so now that's my wife. Yeah, so there you go. So guys, if you can't get a date, just join the military, you get a uniform, and sometimes girls will feel bad for you and give you a date, and then give you 4 kids afterwards. But yeah, I went off to basic training, went off to officer candidate school. You can imagine there's 100 stories there. Went to military intelligence school. Go ahead, guys, make your jokes, military intelligence jokes, go ahead. Oxymoron. Went on from there to report to my unit, and it was the first day I got to my unit where they said, we're headed off to Iraq next year. Be ready. So I got ready. I was actually pretty excited to serve. That was during General Petraeus's The Surge. We were very, very successful in what we're doing. And I'll just actually take a step back right now and say, our military was very successful the last 20 years. I know it's counter to what you've read and what you've heard, but if you look at 9/11 and you said, okay, military, here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep us safe from foreign terrorism. I want you to take out bad governments. I want you to take out bad guys. That's what we did. And we did that where we lost less Americans in Afghanistan in 20 years than we've lost in Iwo Jima in 30 days. It was really a remarkable accomplishment by today's men and women to serve. And I think what you hear about those failures of those wars are really political failures, and they're failures in transitional governance, which is a whole other speech as far as what went wrong there and what we got to do better in the future. But as far as the health of our military, the health of our nation, it's good, and it continues to be good. And it's good in part because of events like this and communities like this that are able to support the veteran. But also, in the fight that we're in, is it's not just the veterans, it's an entire community effort. I mean, we're not the nation with the greatest amount of natural resources. We're not the nation that has the most people. But we're the nation that has the strongest families. We're the nations that have the strongest economy. We're the nation that has this camaraderie and really, truly believes in what that flag stands for, which gives us the edge. And we could keep that edge if our teachers keep doing what they're doing, and our people that work with their hands keep doing what they're doing, and our parents do what they do. It's a community effort. Speaking about sacrifice, how you may see it as sacrifice, but I see it as just the joy of serving. You know, one of the things I had to sacrifice was when I was in Iraq. You know, first of all, my first assignment there was, you know, I thought I'd do military intelligence stuff, and they said, no, you're going to be in charge of sewer, water, electricity, and trash. And I was like, well, I'm a CPA, I'm more of a bit, They said, Lieutenant, do you go to the bathroom? I said, yes, sir. He said, do you wash your hands and flush the toilet and put your trash in the trash and all that stuff and turn on the lights? Yes, sir. He said, Lieutenant, you know everything you need to know about sewer, water, electricity, and trash. Go out there and get to work. Fortunately, after that, they found out I was a CPA and an MBA, and so I did a combination of military intelligence stuff, but also economic development stuff. But along those missions, about 4 months into that, I was going out on a mission, and Major Ferris, who's now General Ferris, stopped me, and he has a very successful private sector job, software salesman. So he was actually the one guy on the battlefield who had a BlackBerry with a satellite connection, and so he had connection. And he said, hey, LT, I got some news for you. Jennifer is in labor, and she's going to grant to be born. And at the time, I was pretty upset because it was my first child, and I wanted to be there. So we timed it out, right? Like, we timed it out, like, I had 2 weeks of leave. The due date was on, like, the 10th day, and then we could, like, we had it all figured out because Jennifer and I are planners, right? But God and babies have their own plans. And so I was told while I was just about to go on a mission that the baby was on the way. And I was pretty upset and knew I was going to be there. And he took me by both shoulders and said, hey, we're going to try to get you home. We're trying to get you home. So took the Humvee to the helicopter, the Black Hawk to the airport, C-130 into Kuwait. There was like a Goodwill trailer there, and they told me, well, just go in the Goodwill trailer, pick out some civilian clothes. We're going to get you to the airport. Well, I'm 6'7". You know how many civilian clothes for 6'7" guys are on the Goodwill? So I had like these very awkward-looking clothes on that were way too short for my body. Then they dropped me off at a civilian airport because that was the only option there, Kuwait International Airport, with my Army bag and said, try to blend in. And I'm like, I'm a 6'7", blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy with an Army backpack, and you blend in the Kuwait airport? Whatever. I was very focused on getting home. Got the news there that my son was born, that it was a boy. Was home about 72 hours later, and the whole hospital had it was all decorated, and it was a very joyous moment. But at the time, I was so upset I wasn't there. And it was cool, because it was about I think it was my son's like 4th grade birthday party. They were all on our patio. And he was talking about his birthday, and he's like, yeah, you know what? Like, when I was born, my dad was at war. And he was really proud of that. And I would not change anything about that experience today because it was so unique, and he's so proud of it. But those are like all the experience us veterans have, is all those moments where you think you're in the suck, and then you realize, when I was in the suck, I was actually living. Like, that was living. Like, not the TV, or not like this going from one thing to another, but in a really remarkable way is when you're in the suck, you feel that you're living. So not so much to honor veterans. Yes, that is important, but especially for you young people, like, ask for the stories. And so many veterans are gonna be like, well, you know, I just did my duty, blah, blah, blah. Ask again, and ask again, and ask questions and follow-up questions. Because most of the stories from your veterans will not end up in history books. They will not end up in a Hollywood movie. But they will end up someday where we all end up, and that will be in a casket. That's where most of the memories will go. Unless you take the opportunity to talk to your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather and your friends and your neighbors and just ask them, where were you at? What was it like? Where are some of the guys you served with? because that picture of America is exactly the opposite picture of America that you see on your cable TV. It's actually the opposite picture of America you hear from your politicians. It's the picture of America that's right. It's a picture of America that has stand for what's right and what is right and what will be right. And that is black and white and Native Americans fighting together, men and women, people of all ages, people from all over the country, people that believe in all different faiths, that come together under one flag and one brotherhood and say, this is worth fighting for. And today's not Memorial Day. We'll celebrate Memorial Day and recognize Memorial Day when it comes. Today's Veterans Day. And yes, that's part of our experience. But today is a day that we actually celebrate that we have a country and a flag that's so powerful, that has been so transformative, that we celebrate people that have had the honor to serve this great country. Thank you once again for New Berlin and your patriotism. Thank you once again for all the students and your performances. And thank you most of all to our veterans, and God bless America.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your words with us today, and we truly appreciate you being able to be here to support this event. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome the New Berlin West High School Band under the direction of Kyle Fletcher to present the United States Armed Forces Salute. We do ask that our veterans please stand as they hear the sounds of their branch of the military as we thank them for their service. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher and the band, and also thank you to all the veterans for participating in that part of our program. At this time, please join me in a moment of silence to remember our veterans, alive and deceased, who served our country and lived in support of the freedoms that we know. Thank you to our New Berlin West student, Nora Grisius, for her participation in our program today. And please be seated once again. As we near the end of our program, let us remember the reason we are here today. My hope for our students that are able to see this is that they have gained further understanding and recognition of the service and important role our veterans have provided to them and our country. My hope for our veterans is that they know they are valued for their service and efforts to maintain the freedom we so deeply value as a community and as a country. It is with great passion that we develop the ultimate successes. We honor many people today who worked with a passion to keep the freedom and experiences we continue to enjoy. John F. Kennedy once said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. As you move forward with school and life, please remember the people that have gone before you to allow you the opportunities that you presently have. Make decisions and live in a way to honor these people who have provided you with these opportunities. I'd like to thank the people who played a role in developing and participating in the program today. These people are listed in the back of your program for reference, and please join me in a round of applause for those people. As we close our program today, veterans, thank you, not only for joining us this morning, but for your service to our country. And we're very appreciative to be able to have a program like this again this year. And as I mentioned before, it will be live streamed out to our students, elementary and secondary, so there's a lot of people who will have the opportunity to see this presentation. One last word is that because of COVID and our mitigation strategies, it's prevented us from hosting the usual brunch that we have. We don't want you to go away empty-handed. So veterans, we do invite you to see one of our staff members in the lobby on your way out. They have bags containing a handmade card created by fourth graders from Ronald Reagan Elementary, a cookie, and a special coupon card, courtesy of our partner, Champs Americana in Brookfield on Moreland Road. The card is good for $10 off any menu item, not only today, but one a month for the entire year. And while the bags and coupon cards are only for veterans, we invite everyone to grab a milk carton and a cookie on your way out. Thank you so much for attending and being part of this very important program, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.